Chicago's mayor and police superintendent are announcing new plans to keep the city safe and prevent violence during big summer events. And a lot of their focus is on teenagers.
We do want to be careful, but we do want to make sure that they understand that we're not going to tolerate violence. We're not going to tolerate vandalism. We're not going to tolerate them going into neighborhoods and destroying things.
In years past, we've seen big teen takeovers with the young people flooding an area, sometimes leading to violence. City leaders say they're trying to find out about these takeovers before they begin and send officers to the area first. The mayor says they're also working on programs that give young people more productive things to do. And the superintendent says officers are getting an extra 60 hours of training for big events like the upcoming NASCAR weekend and the DNC. Well, Chicago police are investigating 4 separate shootings from overnight, 3 of them involving teenagers. And we've now learned 2 people are dead, including one of those teens. CBS 2's Mugo Digwe is live at Chicago Police Headquarters with what we know about each case.
So we know the first shooting was around 9 last night in Roseland. The victim was a 40-year-old man. He was initially rushed to the hospital in critical condition, but we learned he later died. The other deadly shooting was in Washington Heights, this time around 9:15. Police say a 19-year-old was shot multiple times throughout his body. A witness on scene told them the suspect shot the 19-year-old, then took off in a black car. That teen died at the hospital. Then around 10:40 last night in Chatham, police say they responded to reports of a person shot on 87th Street, and that is where they found a 16-year-old boy shot in the leg. He's now in the hospital in serious condition. Then about an hour later, officers were back in Roseland, this time on Perry Avenue. A 17-year-old boy had been shot multiple times. Witnesses told officers the shooters took off in a white SUV. At last check, that boy is in fair condition, and right now no arrests in any of those 4 shootings. Chicago police say they're still investigating. We're live outside police headquarters. Mugo Digwe, CBS 2 News.
Mugo, thank you. As we keep an eye on politics, we're getting a look courtesy of EarthCam over Atlanta, where the sun has risen on a big day for the pride of the Peach State. The city is hosting the first presidential debate between former Commander-in-Chief Donald Trump and incumbent Joe Biden of this election campaign. And a new poll from CBS News and YouGov is shining a new light on what voters want to see from the 2 candidates tonight. In general, they told us they mostly want to hear about Biden's and Trump's plans for the country more than their critiques and criticism of each other. Democrats think Biden needs to avoid mistakes more so than Republicans think Trump does. And fewer Dems than Republicans plan to watch the debate live. More voters of all political stripes expect Trump will win the debate. The GOP is more confident Trump will prevail than Democrats are about Biden. CNN is hosting the debate, but you can also watch it right here on CBS 2 along with CBS News 24/7 and Paramount Plus. More help is coming for parents. This week, Governor Pritzker officially approved the creation of the new Department of Early Childhood. The goal is to make easier for families to access critical programs. Previously, most services were split up between the State Board of Education, the Department of Human Services, and the Department of Children and Family Services. The new agency should be operational in 2026. We are inching so close to this year's NASCAR street race, and starting today, preparations for the return of the 2-day event will shut down busy downtown traffic areas. Marissa Perlman is in Grant Park with everything you need to know.
NASCAR is speeding into downtown already next weekend, and preparations have already been underway. Crews have been working on building the grandstands here near Grant Park, but now major closures around the course layout will begin this evening. The race is set for 4th of July weekend, July 6th to 7th at Grant Park, and will lead to street closures around many of the city's most famous landmarks. Now, compared to last year, course setup and breakdown lasted 25 days. This year, course officials say it will take 19 days total to build and to tear down. Now, starting tonight at 7, Jackson between Michigan and Columbus will shut down. And then 2 big closures you should plan for. Starting Monday at 1 in the morning, Columbus will be closed between Jackson and Roosevelt, and Jackson will be closed from Columbus to Lakeshore Drive. plan your commute for July 5th. That's when DuSable Lakeshore Drive will close between Randolph and McFetrig. Michigan Avenue will close between Roosevelt and Jackson, Indiana at 13th Street, and Monroe between Columbus and Lakeshore Drive. Also changing this year, Bubba's Block Party, a pre-Chicago street fest, will move to the west side. Last year it was at the DuSable Museum. Now it is moving to Douglas Park. The event takes place on Friday, July 5th, highlights Black-owned food vendors, music, and businesses too. Now, a priority will be put on reopening DuSable Lakeshore Drive between Michigan and Columbus. Officials tell us they plan to have everything broken down and reopened by July 18th. Reporting near Grand Park, I'm Marissa Perlman, CBS 2 News.
Marissa, thanks. I'm here now on the street in front of our studios, and one of the drivers who's going to be taking over the downtown area next weekend, Brad Keselowski, veteran NASCAR driver. Great to be with you this morning.
Oh, thank you. Thanks for having me, Ryan.
So you're coming in early, but looking ahead to next week, how excited are you for year 2 of the Chicago NASCAR street race?
Yeah, here a little early. I'm doing a little scouting. See if I can't get a little tips,
Okay.
you know, how to get a little faster around here. I want to win the race.
Maybe take over Uber or something.
Yeah, I might do that. Get out of here. But yeah, I might get arrested, so maybe not a good idea. No, it's good.
Lead foot.
Year 2, you know, last year we had all the rain.
Yes.
So this year I'm promised the weather's going to be much better.
All right, I have somebody upstairs who can help with that.
All right, let's work on that.
Advantage, you hear that?
Yeah.
You got to have a nice dry weekend because it made it a little bit extra exciting.
It did.
It
was still super exciting with the rain.
It really was.
NASCAR running down the streets of Chicago, 150 mile an hour in the rain. That's not something I could have ever predicted.
And those hairpin turns, I got to say, I was so impressed with the layout of the course because when it was announced, I was wondering how they're going to do this. I've been to road courses, covered NASCAR races on an actual track, but downtown Chicago through the loop, through Grand Park, how are they going to do this? They pulled it off despite the rain. How impressed were you with the setup?
Oh, it's amazing. If you haven't seen it, if you haven't had a chance to look at the course last year or even just some of the models that are out there, it is a spectacle to just not only see the cars, but just see the track.
And the skyline.
Amongst that skyline, and the backdrop, and the fountain, the Buckingham Fountain. Oh,
incredible.
It's something you don't want to miss. It's a once-in-a-lifetime experience. Just even driving the car, I feel that way. I can only imagine being able to see the whole race.
It's hard to believe the last time I talked to you was a decade ago out in Joliet at Chicagoland Speedway when you won there for the second time. You've had an illustrious career. Yeah. Where are you now at this point in your racing career with all you've done? You did get a victory this year, so you got something left. What's left in your tank, though?
You know, I want to win more races. I'm greedy. I've been really blessed and fortunate to win races and championships in the NASCAR Cup Series. I want to keep going. And I want to win on a track like Chicago, a road course. I've never won on a road course. I won on all the other types of tracks, so it'd be a nice box to check.
Well, I know that number 6 Ford is ready.
We are
ready to go. Brad Keselowski, he has the need for speed, and he's coming to Chicago for the street race next weekend.
Today's a dry day. We've got a nice start here this morning. Abundant sunshine, clouds increasing through the overnight hours into Friday especially. We've got a mixture of clouds and sunshine, rain after 3 o'clock tomorrow, scattered showers that'll taper off. But watch what happens by Saturday morning. We've got some more rain and thunderstorms that comes up. You've got some brighter colors here indicating some pockets of heavy rain and thunderstorms. Those thunderstorms may pack a punch. Could be looking at some strong thunderstorms early on Saturday morning. That clears out, and then we've got a hot finish to the day. So Saturday's a half and half day, steamy and then cooler as a cold front slides across the area. That's going to put an end to the rain chances, but it's also going to pull into some nice, cool, comfortable air for the end of the weekend. 7-day forecast, high of 73 today. We go to 82 on Friday, near 90 on Saturday, back to the 70s for Sunday and Monday.
but one representative has that.
Iranians are just a day away from heading to the polls in an election dubbed the most pivotal in decades. They'll be choosing from one moderate and 5 conservative candidates, all handpicked by the clergy. Fred Plankton is in Tehran with more on the story.
A children's group warms up the crowd. But things really heat up when Mohammad Bagher Ghalibaf enters the room, one of the leading conservatives in the presidential race. The first thing people expect is economic development, he says. There is no doubt that this development can happen through the path of elections. Ghalibaf's supporters saying they also want a hard line towards the U.S. and Israel. Under any condition, we will be supporting the oppressed and fighting our enemies, this man says. We are very determined. And he says Ghalibaf is the one who supports the Supreme Leader and follows him. Whatever the Supreme Leader says, he puts into practice.
5 of the remaining candidates are considered conservative, but Mohammad Bagher Ghalibaf is certainly considered to be one of the frontrunners, and he has vowed that if he becomes president, he will continue the hardline policies of Imran Raisi, who was killed in that chopper crash a little over a month ago.
After Iran's embassy compound in Syria was bombed in April, killing several Revolutionary Guard commanders, and Iran retaliated for the first time, launching drones and missiles from its own territory, Iran is now warning it will hit Israel again if its assets in the Middle East are targeted. Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei criticizing presidential candidates he thinks could seek ties with the U.S., not naming names, but some believe he referred to Masoud Pezeshkian, the moderate left in the race. Pezeshkian has called for improving ties with nations in the region. A Pezeshkian campaign event in Tehran on Wednesday was canceled abruptly.
The Pezeshkian campaign says after a long process, they didn't receive the necessary permission to hold their rally inside a stadium. So now, as you can see, they're rallying outside on the street, screaming their vote for Pezeshkian.
Disappointed supporters saying they still believe Pezeshkian has a chance to win. The wave of support has added to people's hope in elections, this man says, so we hope that those who are hesitant will come out and vote. And she says, in general, the change we need in politics is foreign policy, so it will result in improvements in people's economic situation. As the campaigns come to an end, Iranians will go to the polls on Friday to elect a new president.
Meanwhile, the streets of La Paz are calm once again, 24 hours after an attempted coup d'etat rocked the Bolivian capital. One general has been arrested, and the country's defense minister is vowing others responsible will, quote, face justice. Political tensions have built to a fever pitch in the landlocked South American country ahead of an election next year that could see controversial ex-president Evo Morales run against incumbent and fellow leftist Luis Arce. And Danish dairy farmers are facing the world's first carbon tax on livestock. They'll have to pay nearly $100 per cow to help offset the planet heating emissions the animals produce. According to the United Nations, farm animals accounted for roughly 12% of global emissions in 2015. New levies will be in effect on livestock by the year 2030.
Committed to telling your stories. CBS 2.
On the Money Watch, the ongoing turmoil gripping American car dealerships could see auto sales for the month of June fall off a cliff. The cyber attack on Hoffman Estates-based CDK Global still hasn't been fully resolved, which has left many dealerships using pen and paper for bookkeeping. J.D. Power and Global Data estimate that non-commercial vehicle sales will fall by between 2.5% and 7.5% from this time last year. That would translate to around 100,000 fewer cars sold than cyber attack predictions. Ahead of its pending merger with Capital One, Riverwoods-based Discover Financial has sold off its student loan portfolio. The Financial Times reports the winning bid was from private equity groups Carlyle and KKR. They beat out a joint competing offer from BlackRock and the Canada Pension Plan.
Likely stay comfortable through the night tonight. Tomorrow, the humidity level starts to get a little higher going from Friday night, especially into Saturday as we pull in some more moisture. And as we go through Friday into Saturday, we've got an increased risk for some showers and thunderstorms developing mainly early on Saturday morning. We'll be dry through the day today, tonight, into tomorrow morning. Shower chance on Friday is going to hold off at least until the late day. A few passing showers, nothing too heavy until at least the early part of Saturday.
Over to this side, you're on your right side of the sheet. Sims.
This is breaking news from CBS 2.
I'm Maurice Vedra in the CBS 2 newsroom with an update on the breaking news we've been following out of South Suburban Madison, where a train derailed this morning, 20 cars jumping the tracks. Let's listen into local leaders.
To that end, Mayor Sheila Chalmers-Curran.
Thank you all for being here. First and foremost, I want to say to our first responders to thank them for their quick response. We arrived here within minutes. Everything has been mitigated, and there is no danger to the public. I want our residents to be aware that there is no danger at this point. Things are still fluid, and we are still here. There's a lot of equipment to be removed from the area, but I want to thank each and every one of them for how quickly they responded to our needs. I want to thank also our supervisor, who is here from Rich Township, and making sure that Homeland Security was out here quickly. We are now telling our residents that there is no danger to any of them at this time. At this point, I'm going, and they can return home. That is the one thing that I want to make sure that they are aware, that they can return home. There is no danger. There is nothing toxic that will harm anyone here. So with that being said, I'm going to turn that over and make sure, before I leave here, I've gotten calls from the governor's office, from our Congresswoman's office, Congresswoman Kelly, and to Senator Durbin. Thank you for your calls. We are responding to each and every one of you and letting you know that our community is safe. So. And without further ado, I thank the media for being here. I thank you for getting this information out to our residents so they know that they are safe. So thank you again. And I'm going to now turn this over to Chief. Are you going to speak first? Chief, go ahead.
Please spell out your first and last name and your title, sir. Good afternoon. Michael Bacon, B-A-C-O-N. I'm the fire chief of the Village of Matteson. This morning at approximately 10:34, the Madison Fire Department, along with the Madison Police Department, responded for a train derailment at 21740 Main Street. Upon arrival, fire companies found approximately 25 rail cars had derailed on the east side of the Main Street crossing. We immediately contacted CN and contacted the Mavis Division 24 and 27 Hazardous Materials Advisors team. At this time, and at that time, there were no injuries reported. We initially identified the products and have been working with the Canadian National since. There was no danger to the community, but initially it was in the best interest to have an evacuation order put in place. We'll have questions, 2 more statements, and I'll come back for your questions for the chief. I know you have them. Supervisor Jordan. Spell out your first and last name.
Calvin, C-A-L-V-I-N, Jordan, J-O-R-D-A-N. First, I want to thank Mayor Kern for what she did rapidly. As soon as this happened, she reached out. I reached out to Homeland Security, and I also want to thank her staff, her fire chief and police department, but thank her for looking out for this community because we got numerous calls even from the township. So again, I thank you, Mayor Curran, for jumping on this right away.
All right, a few questions I'm sure for the fire chief. Fire chief, you want to step up, you and Chief DeYoung. Both of you just come to the camera.
So the products, my name is Deputy Chief Steve DeYoung, D-E-J-O-N-G. I'm with Mavis 24, Mavis 27 Hazmat. So initially the products were identified as liquid petroleum gas, LPG, propane. Those cars had only residual amounts in them, which is a very small amount. Based on not knowing that, at the time that those cars were empty with some residual, the evacuation order was put in place until we could further identify that.
Can you talk about the dangers of that particular chemical, and can you talk about how it has to be handled, removed?
So again, it's residual in the cars. There's not very much in there. There's 2 hazardous materials teams from Canadian National on scene. It's a flammable gas. It's propane, just like you would use in your grill. But there are no current leaks, and all the products are contained.
Do you have an estimation on the cleanup time?
We do not.
Can you talk about how many people, when you did have those evacuations in place, how many people were notified to get out of their homes?
I can't answer that.
About a 2-block radius were evacuated as a precaution. Those individuals right now are being informed that they can return back to their homes. So we had to do that as a precaution. No, that has all been lifted. Everyone is back? Yes. So when you talk about this 2-block radius, how many people are we talking about? Well, when you talk about a block itself with individuals on that block,
300 max.
maybe 300 max.
That's been restored.
That's been restored. Yes.
Any indication on what caused the derailment?
No, that everything is still fluid. We are still looking at information. CN will be able to get back with you and possibly inform us as to what took place.
I just have another question about the actual powdery substance. So, and just so I'm clear, was it being transported or was it part of the mechanism of a rail car? I'm trying to understand how.
Okay.
Was it a barrel? What was it?
Why don't you let Chief DeYoung answer?
The chief will answer that.
All the products were being transported by the train. There was no outside products involved at all. No, when rail cars are empty, they might still have a small amount of product in them.
Speak up a little bit, Charlie.
Did anything leak out of the ground or into the air?
Negative.
So was the product was being transported or had it been transported?
I can't answer that. There was one small leak, but it has since stopped. No, everything just evaporated into the air.
I got time for a couple more questions, and these guys got to get back.
When you say it evaporated into the air, is that cause for concern for
No, not at all. Not at all. So not at all. When that chemical reaches a certain temperature, it just evaporates off into the air. We again had no readings on any of our monitoring equipment of any hazards in the air. There was no gas readings, no chemical readings, no anything. There was no readings anywhere around, in or around the accident site.
Do you anticipate the cleanup to last until tomorrow?
I couldn't answer that.
Do we know how much of this product was being transported?
We do not.
How long the cleanup is going to take?
We're going to have to defer that to CN. We're not sure.
Can you tell us about the equipment behind us? We assume that's going to help the rail cars, correct?
I would, yes, that's all CN equipment that's going to be used to clean up the event.
Any more?
Mayor, what do you want to say to residents
I think it's
along that area where this equipment is going on and this removal, this cleanup is happening?
to our residents, you are safe. I want them to know that we have put out an order for them to return back to their homes. We are on this here. We will continue to be here for you. I have received calls to the village. I've received calls throughout, and I want the residents to know that we are in control of this, and you are safe to go back home. So
exercise patience with the traffic.
Yes.
She wanted to repeat your question about the traffic. Exercise patience.
Please be patient with us with the traffic. I understand it took me a while to get through here myself. Please be patient with us. We're trying to clear this away. I know that they've indicated they're not sure exactly how long it will take. It could take today, it could take tomorrow. What we want to do is just use patience while we get through this process here.
Last question.
Who would say nothing spilled? Because we've got video and pictures of white substance on the ground.
Well, the substance.
That white substance is nothing but plastic pellets.
Right here.
It is plastic pellets.
What's plastic pellets?
The white stuff that's on the ground out of that car from any overhead shots is plastic pellets. There is no hazard with that whatsoever.
One last question. Who's got it?
We knew that we had to. We knew that we had to evacuate our residents because we weren't sure of what was there, and we did it as a precaution. That was the plan, and we initially started that right away. As soon as we heard from CN that this had happened, we made sure that that was in play. So,
okay, guys, that's all we have. I got to get them back over there. I know.
All right, thank you all for coming out. Thank you.
You got my phone number. If you need me, give me a call. I'm here all day, literally all day. Hot mic, hot mic. I know about that.
The mayor of Madison telling residents that the evacuation order from earlier today is canceled. The area is safe. They're free to return home, and there is no threat to the public from that train derailment. We learned in that press conference there was a total of 25 cars that jumped the tracks. No injuries, no current leaks, but the material inside was a liquid petroleum gas in just small amounts. And you heard from the hazmat experts that the air is safe. That site is contained. Lots of cleanup to come, and we'll have more information on that in our complete coverage starting in our news at 4. This has been a CBS 2 special report. We'll now send you back to programming.
This has been breaking news from CBS 2.